меня сегодня свои 12 раундов были. 1 раунд 3 минуты.
With Beterbiev versus Bivol just around the corner, Artur Beterbiev has transformed into an unstoppable force. His brutal training regimen is so intense that even Joe Rogan couldn't help but take notice. He was absolutely blown away by his work ethic and his raw power, especially when he heard about a particular workout that sounded almost inhuman. He did a hammer workout on a tire where he hit a tire for an hour. An hour! He hit a tire for an hour with a sledgehammer. Think about that. Most fighters do this kind of training for a few minutes at a time, maybe in short bursts, but Beterbiev went for a full hour, continuously slamming a sledgehammer into a tire. That's not just about strength, it's about endurance, mental toughness, and conditioning on a level that very few athletes ever reach. Rogan was stunned. It's this kind of relentless work ethic that separates regular fighters from absolute warriors. But it's not just his training that's terrifying, it's his record. Rogan pointed out a mind-blowing stat about Beterbiev's professional career. He's one of the scariest boxers of all time. The only fight that he had as a professional that went the distance is Bivol. The only fight. He's 19-0 at 19 knockouts.
Artur Beterbiev, who is fighting Dmitry Bivol, he did a hammer workout on a tire where he hit a tire for an hour.
He did? For an hour?
An hour.
What?
He hit a tire for an hour with a sledgehammer.
Those Dagestanis are made of different fucking...
He's Chechnyan.
Is he Chechnyan?
But same shit.
Mountain people.
Hamzat Chimaev, savage people.
Yeah.
And he's one of the scariest boxers of all time. The only fight that he had as a professional that went the distance is Bivol.
I know.
That means every other opponent he's ever faced has been stopped. Not just beaten, stopped by force, knocked out. That level of dominance is almost unheard of in modern boxing. Fighters at the elite level are usually skilled enough to survive, even against powerful punchers. But against Beterbiev, nobody lasts. Only Dmitry Bivol, another elite technician, has ever managed to hear the final bell against him. And it's not just about knocking people out, it's about how he does it. Rogan's guest, Brian Callen, joined in and explained that Beterbiev's power is so absurd that even blocking his punches isn't enough. When you have your hands up with him, he'll still concuss you. He hits that hard. That's the kind of power that breaks people. Even if you do everything right, keep your guard up, and try to defend yourself, it still won't matter. His punches go through defenses like they're nothing. Most knockout artists rely on wild swings, but Beterbiev doesn't need to.
When you have your hands up with him, he'll still concuss you.
Yeah.
He hits that hard. Shot, shot. Just basic too, like ones and twos, maybe a hook once.
Just basic ones and twos, maybe a hook once in a while. That's it. No flashy combos, no unnecessary movements, just fundamental punches thrown with freakish strength and perfect timing. And if you think this is just talk, several stories prove how it is. Rogan brought up an incredible moment where a world-class boxer was brought in to spar with Beterbiev. This guy wasn't some random fighter, he was a legit professional, confident in his abilities. But even before stepping into the ring, his coach gave him a warning and left him stunned. There's a great video where this world-class boxer got brought in to spar Beterbiev and his coach just said, "Do your best." And the guy was like, "Do my best? Do my what? The fuck are you talking about? I'm gonna fuck this dude up." Then he hit me. The first time he hit me, it was like nothing I'd ever experienced in my life. It was almost like my body left me and I was standing there.
Wow.
There's a great video where this boxer who was, a world-class boxer, who's a professional, got brought in to box Beterbiev. And his coach said to him, just do your best. He's like, do my best? What the fuck are you talking? I'm going to fuck this dude up. And he goes, and he hit me. The first time he hit me, it was like nothing I'd ever experienced in my life. Like, it was almost like my body left me. And I was like, standing there.
That's your job, dude.
Beterbiev is hitting people too like this.
Yeah.
It's all short.
Yeah.
Everything is short. And it's just...
A trained professional, someone who has taken punches from world-class fighters before, was completely stunned by the impact of a single shot. That's how different Beterbiev's power is. It's on a level that even other professionals can't comprehend until they feel it for themselves. But here's what makes him even scarier. He doesn't just rely on headhunting, he breaks fighters down methodically. Rogan pointed out that Beterbiev has a strategy that makes him even more dangerous. He'll hit your arms. Oh yeah, he'll break your arms down. Think about how brutal that is. It's not just about knocking someone out, it's about systematically destroying them. He doesn't just go for the head, he pounds on the arms, the shoulders, the body. By the time the later rounds come, his opponents can barely lift their arms to defend themselves. That's when he finishes them off. This is just one of these almost horrifying stories. There are plenty more floating around about just how tough it is to spar with Artur Beterbiev. That's by far the worst thing I've ever experienced in life. This is coming from someone who has been in the ring with many high-level fighters, but the comparison he made next took it to another level. I've been hit by a car once when I was young, and that's how I feel like. I'm just being honest.
I sparred with him a few times, and that's by far the worst thing I've ever experienced in life. I've been hit by a car once when I was young, and that's how I feel like sparring with him like this.
Think about that for a second. Getting hit by Beterbiev felt like getting hit by a car. That's not just a figure of speech. This man literally made the comparison to such a traumatic life experience. Most fighters describe punches as stinging or numbing, but for this sparring partner, the force of Beterbiev's shots felt like a full-body collision. When it came to the second interview, he asked, "How hard does Beterbiev hit?" Is he the hardest hitting guy you ever sparred? Without hesitation, the answer came. The hardest. No doubt, no second guessing, just a simple no. Beterbiev is the hardest hitter he's ever faced. And given that sparring partners train with multiple fighters, that statement speaks the volumes. When asked, so how would you fight him? Would you try to close the distance so he can't hit you, or do you box him? His response couldn't have been more clear. I wouldn't fight. That's not an exaggeration. He flat out said he wouldn't take the fight. The thought of stepping into the ring with Beterbiev under real fight conditions was something he had no interest in. But the interviewer pressed further, asking what he would do if he were offered the fight. The response? Still a sound number.
Just being honest, like,
how hard does Beterbiev hit? Is he the hardest hitting guy you ever spoke to?
like this. He's the hardest hitting guy I ever did. He's boom.
Wow, he really kicked crap. So how did you have to fight him in a fight? How would you do it? Like close the distance so you can't let him, or do you box him?
I wouldn't fight him.
No, but if they offered you to fight.
This is what makes Artur Beterbiev so terrifying. He's not just a knockout puncher, he's a machine. His conditioning is insane, his power is unreal, and his approach to breaking fighters down is something straight out of a nightmare. That's why Joe Rogan and everyone else knows he's one of the scariest boxers to ever step in the ring. Makes sense that his wrists aren't just strong, they're reinforced like steel. Beterbiev says that a particular exercise puts him in a good mood, even if he forgets what it's for exactly.
Yes.
That's the thing about Beterbiev, he doesn't just follow traditional training routines, he creates his own. One of his most well-known exercises involves him balancing on his fists in a push-up position, twisting and strengthening his wrists in a way that seems almost unnatural to watch. You know, it's this exercise I do like maybe 30 years. Like, you know, it's very simple for me.
You know, it's this exercise I do like maybe 30 years, like, you know, it's like.
For him, this is second nature. 30 years of repeating the same movement, refining it, making it a part of his routine. To Beterbiev, it's nothing special, but for anyone else watching, it looks painful, intense, and almost inhuman. I don't know. It's like when I have no good mood, I forget what a good mood is. I do this exercise, and it's like good.
Very simple for me.
It's not simple for me to watch.
I don't know, it's like when I have no good mood, you know, I forget good mood, I do this exercise and it's like.
For most athletes, training is structured with clear goals and reasons behind each workout. But for Beterbiev, this exercise isn't just about improving, it's something he does naturally, almost instinctively. When asked when he does this workout before or after training, his answer is just as straightforward. Doesn't matter, like before, after. There's no perfect time for it. It's not part of some strict scientific training schedule. He does it whenever. However, that's the mindset of someone who has trained his entire life without overcomplicating things. And then comes the question of why he does it. What's the benefit? What's the purpose? Even Beterbiev, after all these years, doesn't seem to focus on the technical explanation. It's like for, twisted, like for your wrists to be strong.
Good.
Do you usually do that workout at the start or the end of your training sessions?
Doesn't matter, like before, after.
And what benefits does it have?
It's like for twisted, like for
your wrists?
Wrists.
He knows it strengthens his wrists and makes them tougher and more resistant to injury. He may not overanalyze it, but the results are clear. His punches are devastating, his hands unbreakable. So it's doing its job, and that's what's important. Now, this is something his opponent Dmitry Bivol has noticed as well. In an interview, a question seemed to put Bivol on the spot, but he handled it with grace. Is Artur the hardest puncher? Dmitry paused thoughtfully before giving his answer. He's generally the strongest one, yeah, he admitted, acknowledging Beterbiev's raw power. What sets Beterbiev apart, though, is something far more unique, but they put a lot of effort into punching hard, Dmitry explained. For him, it's less effort and harder punch. That insight offers a glimpse into what makes facing Beterbiev such a challenge.
Generally, his strongest one.
Yeah. Okay. But not the hardest puncher. It seems like there's someone else in your mind that you might be.
No, he's. I told before that, just as an example, Pascal also could hard punch. Canelo also could hard punch, but they put a lot of efforts to.
The way Joe Rogan talks about him, even in this interview from a year ago, you can hear the awe in his voice. Even back then, he recognized just how terrifyingly dominant Beterbiev was. There's this guy, Artur Beterbiev, just knocked out Joe Smith Jr. for the light heavyweight title. This guy is a fucking animal.
Like there's this guy, Artur Beterbiev. Beterbiev just knocked out Joe Smith Jr. for the...
Rogan doesn't just say it, he almost sounds like he's warning people. Because anyone who saw that fight knows that Beterbiev didn't just win, he demolished Joe Smith Jr., a tough, battle-tested fighter known for walking through punches and breaking opponents down with relentless pressure. That style works against most fighters, but against Beterbiev, it meant nothing. And then Rogan laid out the numbers that would prove all of his admiration. He's 18-0 with 18 knockouts. Jesus. That
light heavyweight title. This guy is a fucking animal. He's 18-0.
That record isn't just impressive, it's almost unheard of. Plenty of world champions have knockout power, but every single fight, that's something else. It's the kind of stat that makes opponents rethink their strategy before they even step into the ring. Rogan's reaction is pure disbelief. Even among elite fighters, numbers like that don't happen. He's the only world champion that's in boxing today that has a 100% knockout ratio for every fight he's ever been in.
With 18 knockouts.
Jeez.
He's the only world champion that's in boxing today that has a 100% knockout ratio for every fight he's ever been in.
There are many great knockout artists in boxing history, fighters who carried devastating power, but even the best have had fights where they couldn't put their opponent away. The only fight of Beterbiev that went to the extent of the judge's decision was with Dmitry Bivol, and that's where the fear factor comes in. There's a difference between being a power puncher and being inevitable. If Beterbiev hits you clean, the fight is over. It's just a question of when. Then Rogan talks about where he comes from. He's from Chechnya. This dude is fucking terrifying. Rogan has seen a lot of fighters, but there's something about Beterbiev that stands out even more. Beterbiev isn't just another skilled boxer. He fights with the kind of unshakable determination that's built into him. He's strong, relentless, and completely unfazed by anything thrown his way. And then there's what he did to Joe Smith Jr. Terrifying, because Joe Smith Jr. is an animal, this big power punching light heavyweight, and Beterbiev fucked him up in 2 rounds.
He's from Chechnya. This dude is fucking terrifying. Terrifying, because Joe Smith Jr. is an animal. I mean, he's this big power punching light heavyweight, and Beterbiev fucked him up in 2 rounds.
Joe Smith Jr. isn't a nobody. He's a world-class fighter, a heavy hitter who has been in wars with some of the best. But against Beterbiev, none of that mattered. He couldn't impose his power. He couldn't keep Beterbiev off of him. It wasn't just that Smith lost, it was how fast and brutal it happened. 2 rounds. That's all it took. A fighter as tough as Joe Smith Jr. didn't even make it to the halfway point of the fight. That's when you realize Beterbiev isn't just another knockout artist, he's something different. He doesn't just beat fighters, he destroys them. He doesn't just hit hard, he breaks opponents down piece by piece until they can't stand anymore. Joe Rogan isn't just impressed, he's in awe. Every word, every reaction makes it clear that Artur Beterbiev is a different breed. Joe's reaction to Beterbiev says it all, but what's your take? Let us know in the comments.